Respected PR Ramesh sir, Speaker of the evening, past presidents, office bearers, managing committee members, seniors, and friends. A very warm good evening to all of you. On behalf of the Bombay Chartered Accountants Society, I welcome each one of you to this interesting session on the impact of technology on the role of auditors. We may like it, we may hate it, we may even dread it, but we just cannot miss it. The impact of technology is so pervasive in all spheres of life. Innovative technologies and ideas have brought in a sea of convenience for the common man, be it transportation like Uber, shopping like Flipkarts, or entertainment like your Book My Show. The dynamics of each particular space have fundamentally changed. With such sweeping changes in technology comes the threat of redundancy of both people as well as jobs. International estimates suggest that robots could take up to 30% of UK jobs as soon as 2030. Researchers at Oxford University published a widely referenced study on the likelihood of computerization for different occupations. It would be surprising to know that as far as accountants and auditors are concerned, the study estimates that there is a 94% probability that the job will be computerized. For decades, we have been talking about this. We have been talking about audit through the use of computers and systems. In that sense, technology can perhaps enable a deeper investigation and review of transactions and may permit a better quality of assurance to the stakeholders. But that is merely one dimension to the entire issue. Latest technologies like RPAs have been implemented by many auditees and clients. Is the audit profession and approach of audit suitable for gathering and assurance in such a fully automated transaction processing environment? Many questions emerge on the role of technology vis-a-vis the audit space. Whether technology would enable auditors to test a greater volume of transactions and lead to greater efficiencies and effectiveness. How and to what extent various tools like artificial intelligence, robotic systems, etc. would interface with the client systems without compromising on various issues surrounding data security, reliability, confidentiality, amongst various other matters. Whether judgment and professional skepticism would fall by the wayside and audit become more data driven and a clerical assignment. How will the role of junior and staff and article trainees change? How will the role of senior professionals change, especially knowing that they are not very comfortable with new technologies? How will the investors, regulators, and professional bodies look at this entire sea change in technology? In short, will technology facilitate an earlier and easier detection of frauds and other irregularities? To address these types of issues and cover many other related matters, the society thought it fit to organize a lecture meeting by Shri P.R. Ramesh. Though a personality like him is known to each of us, let me formally introduce him for the benefit of the newcomers and the students in this audience. Mr. P.R. Ramesh is a partner, chairman at Deloitte with over 37 years of experience. That it's a very deep experience, and during this period he has been associated with various regulatory bodies, industry bodies, and professional bodies. Name it, and he has been active in some manner or the other. At SEBI Committee on the Disclosure and Accounting Standards, working group by the RBI, special invitee to the NACAS, invitee to the committee set up by the RBI to assist in convergence to IFRS by banks, member of the technical committee to review the balance sheet presentation of the RBI, IRDA standing committee member, member of the working group on harmonizing IRDA corporate governance guidelines and disclosures with New Companies Act, member of the committee for reforming the regulatory environment for doing business, representative in various subcommittees of the Confederation of Indian Industries, immediate past president of the Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and a member of the governing board of the Council of EU Chambers of Commerce and in India. It's a long biodata. I can just keep on going on, and I mean, but I think we have Mr. Ramesh before us, and we would want to hear him more. Only one small thing which I would like to add is beyond whatever has been written over here, he is a wonderful human being. I had an experience of meeting him in person, and he's such a humble personality that one needs to experience it to really understand it. With this limited remarks, I welcome you, sir, to this August event. I will request Vice President Manish to present a small token of our appreciation. Sir, the floor is all yours.
Um, Mr. Sunil Gabawala, President, Bombay Chartered Accountants Society. Manish, as I was told, the handsome Vice President of the Bombay Chartered Accountants Society. Chirag, past President. Nitin, very senior professionals here. Nalin Bhai, truly honored to be here in BCAS again, and this time in your premises here, and on a topic which I will take you through, which I think requires very, very significant courage to introduce such a topic and discuss and debate this topic. I must compliment Sunil on the outstanding introduction, and the points you made were extremely valid. But also, thank you for introducing me. Except that I must clarify. You mentioned 37 years of experience. I've been 44 years in the firm now as I go through. So, as it happens, sometimes the profiles don't get changed, even time passes. But the reality is, and this is very important, the reality is when people talk of experience, whether it's 44 years of experience or 37 years of experience, in today's world, it doesn't mean anything. Absolutely nothing. And what is real experience? I just calculated as I was sitting here. I have, in my lifetime, I have slept 189,930 hours. So, am I an experienced sleeper? I have walked 230 million steps in my lifetime. Does it mean I'm experienced in walking? That is time spent. So, I have spent, 44 years in a way in the profession. What distinguishes time and experience is that incremental improvement which you do to yourself. A marathon runner runs 1 hour at one time. Next time he tries to complete it in 55 minutes. That is experience. He tries to improvise. Otherwise, if you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, that's not experience. And the reality is that in today's world, the world it is today, experience does not count. And I'll tell you why. And then that's why I said this topic is extremely bold. I really compliment you because I've spoken on a larger topic, which is somewhat, when you said related topics, I will cover that. The larger topic, in a way, being the future of the profession. The question which we need to ask ourselves is what is the future of the profession? What is the profession of the future? This is something which we need to ask in the current context. And key to all of this is relevance. Profession is not about a qualification. Profession is not about being in a professional body. We could take pride that we are in a professional body, and if you are a chartered accountant, you could take pride that you are in a professional body which was set up in 1949. Doesn't mean anything. The question is, as a profession, And as a professional, are you relevant? What is it you profess to deliver? What is it society wants? Are you meeting that? And that is why an introspection is required even on a function like this. In fact, in recent times, this function is more in the newspapers than in any other function. Once again, in newspapers for a variety of reasons. And oftentimes, I personally believe that the real issue is missed. The real issue is understanding what is the angst, what is the expectation. Are we delivering to expectations? And that's why this topic is extremely important, because it is not about being defensive. It is not about saying an audit does not cover A, B, C, D. For instance, you may say the role of an auditor is not to cover frauds. Sure, it's you may talk about it. Certain auditing standards require an auditor to factor the risk of fraud. Having said that, then you extrapolate that question. You may miss a hole in the balance sheet, but can you miss a crater in the balance sheet and still say it is not the auditor's duty to uncover frauds? So at the end of the day, there is a need which the society expects. If we are not able to fulfill the need because of how we go about today, we need to ask ourselves, do we need to do something to what we do to try and meet the need? I know there is this issue of expectation gap and performance gap. Everybody says we need to narrow the performance gap or eliminate the performance gap. We need to try and bridge the expectation gap by educating. I believe that the time has come for us to bridge the performance gap by enhancing our expectation gap, by enhancing our performance to say, yes, this is not expected of us in the past. This is what we will now do to try and meet your expectation. And when you come into this context of the subject of technology, you will soon realize that if you were doing the way you're doing in 1949 when you started the profession, formally started the profession and with the enactment, and even thereafter, or when you look at when I started in my profession, today you'll be barely scratching the surface. You'll be barely scratching the surface with the same techniques and the same tools. And that is why this is very important. This scares me. As an auditor, I am terrified. I'm terrified because I believe, and I can say this, I believe I'm ill-equipped given the pace of change in the environment. So let's spend some time, and I'll lay the landscape to you about technology. Let's understand what is that when we say impact of technology. What is that impact? Then what does it mean for our function as auditors? How has the role changed? How will the role change? It's completely different from whether there will be an audit in future. And for those of you, I can see a lot of young faces in this room. Sorry to say that I don't see too bright a future for audit, given the impact of technology, which Sunil did mention, and I'll show you in a particular slide. Now, that's not something to lament about. That's not something to, cry. It's important that out of every crisis, you reform, and there is an opportunity which is there, and you transform yourself. What will be needed will be something different in a form which is different, which then we need to reskill, retool ourselves and provide that. So when I say audit will not be there in this, I'm meaning audit in the same form will not be there. The annual audit which you see, the annual general meetings which you see, the annual report which you see, all that over a period of time, it's a question of when, not a question of whether this will go. That is the reality. So let's start by understanding the impact of technology. The fact of the matter is that technology is all pervasive. It has impacted our lives in what we do, how we relate to each other, how we entertain ourselves. Every aspect of our life is impacted by technology. Early in 2000, I attended a program in Bangkok. There was a speaker called Wolfgang Grülke. He wrote a book, 10 Lessons from the Future. And he said, start thinking what will be 10 years from now. I'm talking of early 2000, he said that. I even then was reflecting, and if I now reflect and say if somebody told me in 1999 or much earlier that I can, talk to systems, I can, the way we use mobile today, in my first mobile, I think it was 18 rupees a minute or something like that. It was extremely expensive. It had an antenna so big, it was heavy, like a compass box. And you look at it today, you look at what your driver, your maid, they have multiple SIMs into that same gadget, and you see them, the ringtones they have, you will be ashamed and you'll know that they are far ahead than you. It's amazing change, dramatic, and considering, and I'll show you some of that in terms of the, just to tell you what is technology, what is its impact. Today, the talk in the world is what is called the fourth industrial revolution. The first industrial revolution happened in somewhere around 1740 to the 1800s when railroads came into existence. In the United States, etc., you could see the impact of railroads and therefore people being transported from one place to another, a whole host of things. The second industrial revolution happened the later part of the 19th century and the earlier part of the 20th century when you had automation. You had assembly lines. If you see the movie 1934, Charlie Chaplin movie called Modern Times. In 1934, the movie was titled Modern Times. I don't know then what will these times be. And you had an assembly line there. I was amazed. There was even something like a closed circuit TV then. 1934, they imagined that. Then the third industrial revolution is what you see in the 60s and 70s and 80s with all this industrialization which has happened. And now we are in the fourth industrial revolution, which I will talk about. But the point is, this impact of technology is not only changing our behavior, it's changing or impacting societal systems, whether it's laws. Today we talk of privacy, we talk of data confidentiality, you talk of WhatsApp creating riots. Can you imagine this 20 years ago or 25 years ago? And can you imagine how the people are addicted to WhatsApp from very early morning, good morning images to late night, good night images also I keep getting. And that's in a different context of storage I'll speak to you about. But the fact is, the way business is done, the way transactions happen, the way businesses are in terms of models, and I'll touch upon that, it's dramatic. So let's begin by looking at this impact of technology. So what's happening? The fact is, technology has changed, as I mentioned to you, what we do. Just reflect 30 years ago, what did you do? And how did you do it? In the audit itself, Nalin Bhai will bear with me. 30, 40 years ago, in today's generation of auditors will never know, we all carried rubber stamps. We had specially designed pouches so that it doesn't stay in your pocket, and you carried a rubber stamp or a stamp pad, because every voucher you saw, you put a stamp. You left an audit trail in the client's premises. You put a tick there. I don't think anybody today thinks of a tick in an IT system, in an ERP system. I have not seen anybody, and I know of one firm which used to have double color pencil, two sides, and they would be busy sharpening. That indicated how how much work he has done. If he's sharpened his pencil and comes for replacement, it seems he's a good auditor, really speaking. And you had tick marks which said, did you verify? Did you check posting? Did you check casting? Just ask yourself, what did you do and how did you do? And just think of what you're doing today, and then you start extrapolating what you will do in future. It's very scary. Just this, I'm just laying a foundation for our discussion. I'll still talk about technology. When do we do? And whether it's audit or even businesses, all this has changed. What has changed is and where we do from. I have no issue today whilst sitting in a BCAS meeting to be able to review an audit file on my laptop. I can do that. I can sign off. I can do everything. Or in rather than a local train. So if you ask somebody, are you doing an audit in a local train? I think you would be horrified if you had asked somebody 30 years ago. Well, there's no way. But today, it doesn't matter where you are. You're on a flight somewhere. You're actually doing all of this so differently. Then we will analyze the impact. But what has not changed as much is we say businesses has changed or has not changed. Business models have changed. Businesses are still there. They are done differently. There is absolutely no doubt. And I'll again come to that particular slide when I talk about it. But there are at least 4 things of technology let us look at. And I'll touch upon each of these, okay? Which is storage, speed, sensors, and connect. Just 4, and I'll take you to many more. But let's take the first one. You may not be able to read the text, but I'll just to put it in perspective. Let's go back to 1956. This slide says IBM ships first hard drive the size of 2 refrigerators. And what is the size of that hard drive? 5 MB. 5 MB in the size of 2 refrigerators. 1956. 1971. Add on, 15 years later. IBM's first floppy disk stored 80 kilobytes, 80 KB, read only, and go on to the next one, 1980, 24 years later. IBM's world's first 1 GB hard drive could store size of 1 refrigerator. 1 GB, size of 1 refrigerator. Just look at storage alone. 1996, first DVDs store 4.7 GB of data. 2001, first USB flash drive 8 MB. Modern flash drives, of course, it goes on even 256 GB you get in a small flash drive, but much more. But get on to further in 2011. I mean, I think I can go on and on insofar as data, but Eric Schmidt, the chairman of Google, in 2011, he said that the entire data from the inception of mankind till 2004, in 2010 was being generated in 2 days. From the entire data from the inception of mankind till 2004 was being generated 2 days in 2010. Today it will be generated in few hours. That is the volume of data which you generate. It's no longer about GB, no longer about terabytes, it's no longer about petabytes, no longer about exabytes or zettabytes or yetabytes. You come to 1 followed by 24 zeros or 27 zeros. You can put the GB beside that. That is the volumes we talk about today. To put it in context, it's like the childhood story, you must have read this, about the king who was very pleased with the guy who designed the chessboard, right? And king was so pleased, he said, ask what you want. That man said, my lord, I want 1 grain of rice on the first square of the chessboard, twice that on the second square of the chessboard, twice that on the third square of the chessboard, and so on for the 64 squares. The king said, "Is that all you want? Please go ahead." The entire granary in the kingdom could not fill, because when you do that 64 times, you reach 1 quintillion, which is 1 followed by 18 zeros. That is exponential growth. Today, what we are seeing is not change. We are seeing exponential change. Storage alone, you have the Kreider's law. Kreider's law, which was several decades ago, said the storage would double every year at the same cost. We're seeing it doubling and doubling and doubling and doubling. You're seeing the data here. This is just storage. So and if you see here, the amount of in 2018, if you see here below, the amount of data on internet is 40 times larger than 2009, and the number of what this holds was what used to be in a full building 30 years ago when we used to go for audit. A computer center, you have to leave your footwear outside, fully air conditioned, all those spools turning, IBM 1401 running. Today it is either on your phone or your tablet or in this. Will that not make a difference to your audit? Can you do the audit in the same way as before? Will that not transform everything about business? And that is only today. Now you roll forward, and I'll come to that too. Take speed. Intel's first chip, 404, 1970s. Compare that with current Intel 7th generation chip, whatever it is. This chip will be 3,500 times faster, 90,000 times more energy efficient, and 60,000 times cheaper. Now you say that is just that chip has changed so much. Assuming the same pace of change had happened in the automotive industry, assuming so, a Volkswagen Beetle, that car of 1970s, had that pace of change happened in the automotive sector, just like it happened in this, that Volkswagen Beetle today you will be able to drive it at 300,000 miles per hour speed, and your entire lifetime of your lifetime, not the car's lifetime, you can drive it at just filling two gallons of fuel. That would have been the extent of efficiency which has gone into technology. Just speed. We are irritated. I got irritated when it wasn't booting so fast when I was trying to copy the pen drive, and I hardly spent a few seconds. Buffering, we get irritated, don't we? See the speed, and what are the speed we talk about related just to 15 years ago, that speed. That floppy drive we would put in and wait, it would spin and spin and spin till some image popped up. So I'm saying start thinking on this and extrapolating. It's terrifying, terrifying. But at the same time, there's a huge enabler. So that's the speed at which transactions are being processed. Billions of transactions today are there in IT systems. So when ERP systems came in, as an auditor, I was ill-equipped because I would do ledger scrutiny. So much. Look at journal entries, look at vouchers. Suddenly it's all ERP systems. If for one single entry I can't find the debit and credit, it goes through multiple routing accounts, and you're lost completely. So you can't say, give me a printout of the ledger, I want to do ledger scrutiny. Can you today for any organization in the way it is? Just think of, can you? You cannot. The way transactions are happening. So the fact is, just these two. Take the third one, sensors. Sensors has changed everything. You don't need a watchman, you don't need anything. Today, sensors have developed to such an extent, the only thing pending is sense of smell. Whether it is taste, whether it is touch, whether it is sound, whether it is temperature, whether it is movement, whether it is pressure, you name it, there are sensors for everything. And that is why you wear a watch, you walk, it tells you so many steps. It tells you how you slept. Everything, right? How? There are sensors in everything. Gone are the days where, if today investigations, whenever today any crime happens, in the good old days, police used to bring the dog and a handkerchief and then show this. It'll follow, it goes to Churchgate station. They know that guy has boarded the train. End of the story. Now, police doesn't bring the dog. They look at CCTV images, they look at cell phone data, they say who was there, track where the person is, crack the case. So, as an auditor, what do you mean? Now, if you want to do stock consumption audit or whatever it is, are you going to spend time looking at issue slips and this and that? And you may, for all you know, decide to look at the CCTV images of the store and see how issues are being made and how receipts are being done. Who is done, who had access, who did not have access, what is authorized, what is unauthorized, what is the item, and if you add it on to RFID tags, etc., it's even more. I was in Seattle early this month. If you go to Amazon Go store, fascinating experience of the future of shopping. That store is something like the size of this hall, or maybe a little bigger, maybe. There's thousands cameras or more, thousands of, you can't make out, they're all cameras all over. You download the Amazon Go app, which is in my phone. You enter the store with that app, go in, pick up whatever you want, walk out. As soon as you've stepped out of that store, it's built to your account. Ting, you'll get a message. And if all of you want to come along with me, I can enter you through that same app. Each one of you can enter. And any of you pick up, I'll still get debited. Instant as soon as you'll walk out. That is the future of shopping. No bill, no standing in line, nothing. You may pick up something, put it back. It records those images. God knows how. I don't want to know at this stage, but all I want is that experience. I walked out. As I walked out to the curb, the message, your account has been debited by so much dollars. That's the future of shopping. Now you ask audit how, where is the bill, voucher? This is a hard reality. That is because there are image sensors. There may be other sensors in the way it is that processes the data. And then you have this fourth one, connectivity. You ourselves know, we have gone from 1G, 2G, 3G, 5G, then finally Suno-G. Now we have to decide what it is, whichever. And each one is phenomenal speed. It's instantaneous. And the length and breadth. I'm amazed as to how when you sit in an aircraft, which is going 750 miles per hour or 800 miles per hour, they say you can do internet on the aircraft, right? You can make calls uninterrupted. So you imagine it's going at that speed in the sky. It's communicating with your own servers anywhere in here, and you are doing email, you are sending, receiving mail, you are talking on the phone. Isn't that fascinating but scary? And then I leave it to tax professionals, that's a different subject, to determine if transactions happen, which is the tax jurisdiction. And of course, accountants to happen, whether in accounting also we have all these fancy things like, what is that? In the foreign exchange standard, you have not just functional currency issue, you have integral and non-integral foreign operations. So if you're flying in the air, I don't know whether it's integral or non-integral foreign. Anyway, just that's in lighter vein. But the fact of the matter is, just these four things alone is dramatically changing the way business is done, the way our lives are. Now let's add, this is what we call disruption. Let's add many other things to this. And then you look at the first ones. Internet you all know, cloud you all heard about, big data is, because when you have data, when you're talking of zettabytes, big data, you're lost unless you are able to do analysis from that, between data and information. 3D printing, hard reality. 3D printed buildings have come up. And then when you Internet of Things, Internet of Wearables, cognitive systems, artificial is very basic. If I'm going to say, tell Sunil Gabawala I'll be 2 minutes late, how does it know it's TWO and not TOO? It's AI. Everything. And my extreme view, and I'll come to that a little later, but nanotechnology, how minuscule it is. Robotics, robotics process automation, and then you get on all of this. You listed here artificial narrow intelligence, but artificial general intelligence and artificial super intelligence is mimicking humans completely. We talk of autonomous vehicles, which is the driverless cars. There are also autonomous weapon systems. No human intervention, the weapons will get launched depending on whether it senses an attack. 3 world wars were actually averted because there was a human in between. God forbid what will happen when these autonomous weapon systems have happened. There was an plane which was shot down by a missile. It happened because of autonomous weapon systems in a way. Those are moral issues. There are separate subject matters. I'm just laying what is much more. You just keep on seeing the list. The fact is, this disruption is certain. It has happened. It's not too far. That's why we say we are today in the Industrial Revolution 4.0. And Industrial Revolution 4.0 is a convergence of the physical world, the digital world, and the biological world. In terms of, when you're talking of biological world, you're also looking at DNA printing, you're looking at cognitive neural networks, you're studying the human brain and see how you can replicate, even when you try and wear virtual reality glasses. Virtual reality, you're entering a temple, you're seeing the image of a temple, you just look up like this, actually the image shows you the roof of the temple. You look down, it shows you the depth of a valley. It's sensing your eyeball movement and then showing you the images like that. Isn't that's why it's called virtual reality. And virtual reality, I went to a company recently which was making tractors. And they were showing me virtual reality in marketing. You are a customer, you come in, they say, you wear this. Okay, forget it. You're marketing to a farmer in his farm. Okay, you want to tell him, I've got these models of tractors. Why don't you wear this? One model comes up. He says, why don't you drive that? So you walk as if you get onto it, you touch, feel. As you are virtually doing it, you are getting that feeling, and you want to look at how the dashboard looks. You turn your head towards dashboard, it will show you the details of the dashboard. So you are getting a virtual feel of the tractor without actually physically seeing the tractor anywhere near you. And the marketing is happening. Why don't you start the tractor also, it says. And with audio, you'll get the sound also. That's a different thing. But I'm just giving you an example. And so the Industrial Revolution 4.0 is what we are seeing. That's a subject. Of course, there are related subjects with it, which come cyber security, etc. So what we are seeing is the physical to the digital to the physical loop, which we're seeing here. Physical with sensors, etc., translate that image into data. And that data triggers actions. That action in turn may create movement of goods, movement of it. So physical to digital to physical. Somebody came to me today in the morning from Hyderabad to see me. He had developed a product which will tell the soil content by purely photographing the soil. He says, I've developed that with the image. It will tell what is the soil content and what fertilizer is required, what crops can be grown. He's linking it to a lot of things. I asked him, is it 4K image which you require or 1080 pixels is enough? He says, even 1080 pixels is enough. But the point is, it's converting that image. Today, if I'm a soil expert, I also look at the soil, color of the soil, and then say, no, this soil will not grow these commodities. I'm relating to my visual with a certain data which I have, and then coming to conclusions or opinions. He replicates that today with the volume of processing which is possible. linking it to databases, and then you're able to get that answer very easily. I was at the World Economic Forum in Delhi in October, where Dr. Naresh Trehan of Medanta presented a thing like a treadmill, which has many cameras, which is finally linked to computers. He says, you just walk on it. We'll be able to tell you what exactly are your ailments. Because the hundreds of pictures which are taken, including your posture, your speed at which you walk, everything, and fed into computers which process that volumes of information with the databases, which is what exactly a doctor does, which automatically will tell you what your problem is. That is the world. So it transforms everything, business operations, business growth. I won't spend time on this. And in the next 10 years, the hard reality is 40% of the Fortune 500 companies will be gone. If you see 1994, let me take that as a year. The top 3 companies in Detroit had accounted for a market capitalization of $36 billion. They had revenues of around the market capital is $36 billion, revenues of $250 billion, and they employed 1.2 million people. It's 12 lakhs people. In 2014, put forward 20 years, or even you can take it even now, those top 3 companies account for market capitalization of, and it's not those same 3 companies, account for market capitalization of $1.06 trillion. So market capitalization the same, $36 billion, revenues of $1.06 trillion, and only 130,000 employees, as opposed to 1.2 million employees. So the new age companies are technology companies. If you could have a different issue in terms of employment, future of work, future of mobility, there are a whole host of subjects which are being discussed. But this is not my quote. You'll find many such things which have happened. And look at this, Kaufman Foundation says, the surprising truth is the last 25 years, almost all private sector jobs have been created by businesses less than 5 years old. Scary, but this is the truth. 3, Peter Diamandis, he's an outstanding guy. Peter Diamandis, he rakers while all our great guys of the Singularity University he's attached to. 3 billion new minds will join the connected internet in the next 5 years. You overlay all this into the demographic profile where it's no longer the baby boomers, all that generations is all gone. Look at this current generation which is there 25 years and lesser. They constitute 75% of the workforce in future. Their mindsets are different. They're completely, the behaviors, they are the ones who are part of your audit teams. So it's not about how I did. It's about what do they do? How much time they spend on WhatsApp and how do they actually do? Those are different things. So what's different? The big change, you'll see what has shifted from, in a way, hindsight, historical reporting, which used to happen, to insight. Then it moved on to, okay, more analytics, more data, a whole host of things. It's moved on to foresight. That is the big change. Now the new technologies, which has all happened, is completely moving the needle ahead. If you see some of these, if you go back to 1970s, all that, everything was related to the then storage possible, right? It was all manual, you captured data, you had mainframe computers, your desktop computing came in a little later. Then in 2000, it went on a little better. You had performance analysis, profitability analysis, mobile devices started coming in, right? Today, all that is all gone. Even whether you'll carry a mobile is debatable in terms of if you carry embedded chips. Now we talk of cognitive computing. You talk of blockchain, advanced robotics, process automation. This is the reality. Advanced computing. So technology I have taught. What does this mean? first, before we go to audit, let's see what does this mean for us as professionals. Because the larger profession also we need to address. The first thing is impact is disintermediation. Technology will eliminate intermediaries. Travel agent was an intermediary between a traveler and an airline. Where is the travel agent? Earlier we had to go to Sita World Travel, Trade Wings, Travel Corporation of India. They would write tickets on the stub, beautiful offices. If you want a return ticket, the stub is different. If you have multiple journeys abroad, it's different. You couldn't enter travel if you didn't have that physical ticket. Today, you don't even require tickets, right? You just enter everything. Where is the agent? He would get 9% commission. Now, ask yourself the same thing. Can I live in 1949? I may have been in a profession for so many years. I may have been a travel agent, part of Travel Agents Association of India, TAI. What is my future? My future is zero if I was a travel agent. What happened? He was the intermediary. Disintermediation. An extreme view, let's assume an extreme view, which none of us will like, is a pujari in a temple will disappear. He is the intermediary between you and God, right? You go to Siddhi Vinayak to pray. Whom do you pray to? Pujari or God? God. Why is he required? If I go digitally, I press, there is a mantra which comes out, and then another press of a button, I get holy water, another press of a button, flowers or whatever it is, another press of a button, my same prasad which I kept comes through some circuit back to me. I'm happy. I go to a IATM and withdraw cash. Do I talk to a cashier? I don't talk to a cashier. Have I not got used to it? The answer is I've got used to it. I still remember in the 90s when I was in Calcutta, HSBC, the then Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, put up an ATM. They got a notice from the Shops and Establishment Act saying you're doing banking beyond banking hours. So, boss, which now if somebody sends you a notice, I mean, even then we laughed. But the fact is, maybe he had a point then the law is outdated. The fact is, yes, you were doing banking. It was dispensing cash from your account. But today it's 24/7. So if I can go to a temple 24/7, won't I be? Will you not? Will you object? Because back to that intermediary. And the problem of this intermediation is, I'll come to the other things, but let me extrapolate to how I will lose my job. Okay. And maybe I'll do that after I complete all this in terms of expert. And I'll tell you how experts may disappear in a way. Okay, it's scary, but sorry, but one silver lining, and for some of you here too, is that we have very few years left in our professional life, and therefore we don't have to worry about. Then you have this Uberization. You all know Uber, you use Uber, right? Where is the yellow-black taxis? What is it here? Here was a customer who wants a ride. Here was somebody who owned a vehicle. Uber connected the two. Earlier you flag, you say, Humko, supposing you are in front of Churchgate station, you want to go to Dadar. The taxi driver will say, no, I have to go to Kolaba, not Dadar. Or you want to go to Kolaba, he wants to go to Dadar. That's highly likely. In certain cities, I know it's extreme. He always wants to go in the opposite direction. Okay. And then you get down, his meter shows something. I have also gone to experience that. That meter is, and every time he goes over speed breaker, I get a feeling that the meter is jumping. The car is jumping, but the meter is not. And when we get down, there's a big fight with the taxi guy. Your meter is wrong. This is wrong. After Uber, where is it? You get it at your doorstep. Vehicle of your choice, your size. You don't have to pay for. You don't have to look for change. Fine. You can complain about. There are other related issues which are coming up on security. That apart. But the fact is, there will be Uberization of the profession. Technology enabled Uber. What if somebody needs some service? Somebody is able to provide a service. Something connects both. Why do you need APR Ramesh? You need a solution. You need service done. That's exactly what you want in Uber. You want a clean car, you want a type of a size, and you get it. Technology, and you're impatient if it doesn't come in that right time, right? You got so used to it. So much. This is if it can happen in the taxi world, it can happen in your professional world. Then crowdsourcing. Technology enables this. Throw the problem into the crowd. And I'll come to crowdsourcing of the audit profession, auditing function, which a little later. What is crowdsourcing? You need a solution, throw it into the crowd across the world. Anybody who finds the solution will be paid for. Back to the same thing. You need a solution. Why do you need PR Ramesh? Very difficult to get his appointment. He's always traveling. He's too expensive, charges a lot. Put it into the crowd. Whoever somebody remotely solves it, I'm happy. I need a solution. Scary. We need to be prepared for that. Technology is the enabler. And the person need not be sitting in India, need not be sitting in Mumbai. Forget all the CA institutes laws which you may have. Should be member in practice. Should be resident in a place for so many. How many days? 180 days, is it? Something to that effect. Where is that resident today? 180 days regulation. You need to start asking yourself in a technology world. Removal of statutory requirements. Same thing happened in Uber. Railway black taxis only VR licensed to drive. Gone. Customer drives, market drives it. When you start thinking on these, start thinking audit. I am only licensed to audit. ATM, does it have a license? Meaning cash. And I'll come to the next one, which is even more interesting. Exclusivity. Only I can do it. Along with this statute requires audit. What if audit is not required by statute? How many will want an audit and pay you that fee which you want? That is relevance. Exclusivity. Only I can do. Because when machines can do, there's no only I can do. It doesn't pass CA exam or any exam for that matter. It will be equipped with all of that, which is a futuristic. I'm saying the problem for us, all of us, collectively as a profession, is we tend to think linear. But in today's time, linear thinking is irrelevant. Strategic thinking is important. Because the change is exponential, whatever way it is. And second thing we have to realize, I cannot continue in the way I was continuing. It will change. I have to be prepared for that. Like it, I don't like it. So no point in defending what I want to retain and like it, because that will not be the way the future. This is the big change as professionals we should start thinking, and that's why I complimented BCAS on taking this. This is scary. Emergence of paraprofessionals. And just coming to audit, bear with me. Emergence of paraprofessionals. There was a time when I needed to check, say, blood sugar. I went to a pathology lab, gave my blood, first fasting and all that. They'll say, come, give my blood, come in the evening for the report. In some places, come next day. All sorts of things used to happen. Today, what do? Even if I want a lipid profile, I prick myself, check, put it into that strip. Instant, I get the result. Am I qualified? I am a paraprofessional. You go, Vizag airport has a stall. Your flight is delayed, you do a complete checkup. Lipid profile, blood group, everything he'll do instantly in 10 minutes. Give you a report just like a pathology lab will give you. He has a machine there, he'll do it for you. Is he MD in some pathology? No. I'm sure he's not. But paraprofessionals today, organizations don't mind an 8th class pass with the use of technology is as good as a professional. You and I are as good as doctors, because first thing when pain in the knee, you'll start Google. What is pain in the knee? What could be the possible causes? Many things, osteoporosis, this, that, whole host of things. You go to a doctor, he'll give you the same lecture. No, you're aged, osteoporosis, take vitamin E, vitamin D, whole host of things. Correct? Don't reduce your weight by 10 kilos, don't play badminton. Many things you'll do that Google also tells you. Right? That, and of course, all of this commoditization, cost pressures. And cost pressure, why will it come? You and I do the same thing. Why? Because technology. Technology has made it possible to do the same things cheaper. I gave you the thing, faster, cheaper, everything. Even materials are changing. The future, which is scary, take graphene as a material. Graphene is 200 times stronger than steel. 200 times stronger than steel. And a million times thinner than the human hair. Just do research and see graphene. And if graphene becomes affordable, you can imagine what it does to a steel industry or for anybody. Just think of one. There are many things which are happening. This is the future. Now on this, let me come quickly before I go to audit on to expert. And then of course, cost pressures, then commoditization. Expert. Okay, I am an expert. That's why maybe BCAS called me. The reality is, if I look at it, what is the elements of an expert? First is knowledge. Irrelevant. My knowledge is the same as everybody because all have smartphones. Anything you can, it'll give you the answer. Anything, right? There's nothing which I know which is not available in a smartphone. So you have it, you're done. And unfortunately, still in exams, sometimes we test recall of knowledge, which is useless. Write short notes on. This is not an institute platform, maybe I can say, but it applies to every body. Recall of knowledge is irrelevant. Application of knowledge is most important. Recall to me is Google, Siri, Alexa, whatever it is, they will tell me. The second attribute of an expert is customization of knowledge. Google doesn't customize, right? That's what we would all like to do. Come to me, I know you have knowledge, Google will tell you, but you go because you customize the knowledge. Look at, go back to childhood to a tailor. Even now there are some tailors, I go to a tailor too. He's the expert, he'll measure, stitch, cut your cloth, everything fine. But the reality is, he has knowledge, he's customizing the knowledge, and then you get this suit stitched by the tailor. Then industrialization. All the activities of a tailor, measuring, cutting, etc., all got automated. Stitching of a button, ironing, folding, everything you'll find. Then question about what about customization? Then came the principle of mass customization. How many different waist sizes can be there? Fixed number, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, up to maybe 50. There may be some who are more than 50, but in terms of waist size, how many different inner lengths can be there, or outer length, whichever way? Or even now when you go to a store, you just look at your waist size and you look at a length of a trouser and just pick it up. In some cases it will fit you, in some you may have to adjust the length, it will keep it open. Out went that tailor. How many different M&A models can be there? Finite number, boss. It will all be available in Google. So as professionals, your knowledge is available. Your customization of knowledge is gone. Exclusivity, as I mentioned here, if it is gone, like and went into Uber. Emergence of paraprofessionals with gadgets and devices, even an audit. I don't need to qualify a CA to do an audit because if technology, which we are talking of, crowdsourcing, Uberization, you can look at the impact on professional services, professional firms, brands. This is a scary future. You could say it will never happen. You could say human mind will never get replaced. The answer is no, and I'll come to that part of cognitive which you see. There's so much. When we talk, you talk to Alexa, talk to Siri, you'll be fascinated by the responses. You'll be fascinated how soon the response comes. Everything. Today, technology is such that if I am talking, you can look at how I talk and look at my image and tell you, you can make out whether I'm lying or telling the truth. If a woman is walking with a child and talking to the child, images will sense, including the voice. When I say image, whether it's the way they walk, the stride, the looks, say, is this the child of that mother? With virtual accuracy. That is the reality. It'll tell you your moods, which is true. When we say, oh, why are you angry or why are you looking sad? How are we concluding? By looking at a face or wrinkles on the forehead, whatever it is. All that can be replicated and put into systems and say, capture this. When you take a camera and a picture, how do the square boxes come on faces? Why don't they come on hands or legs? Isn't that AI in some form? We take it for granted, right? But isn't that fascinating? That is behind. So that's what I'm saying, that imaging. So we need to therefore reflect, what does this mean? So all auditors, finance teams, as you would see here, need to understand that the world will continue to move even faster. We need to prepare ourselves for that world. So do auditors. You can't. This is what Sunil mentioned. You look at the future probability that jobs will go away. 94% probability, which is what he mentioned, accountants and auditors, is one of the highest probabilities next to telemarketers. Okay. The good thing is recreational therapists have the lowest probability of being displaced. Dentists too, because still somebody has to touch your teeth, extract it, which is painful maybe. But clergy is also, probability is there. It's written there. Firefighters, actors. You see today animation movies, where is the actor? Chota Bheem. Children watch it, right? Where is the actor? Gone. But the fact is, most books and records are rule based. You may try to rationalize, say, accounting standards are principle based and all that. Increasingly, it will become rule based, because as IT systems develop, you need to create a rule. Then in the next 95% chance of automation of all of this, I'll show you in the next slide too, which says in the next slide, which is say, you will find here, which you can't perhaps see, which says 30% of corporate audits will be performed by AI. 75% probability that by 2025, 30% of corporate audits will be performed by artificial intelligence. Take what is very easy, which can be replicated. Say receivables provisioning, even NPA provisioning, you can take it. What are you doing? Are you looking at the borrower's face and deciding how much provision should be made? No, you're looking at data. Anything to do with data is the easiest, is basic for IT systems to compute. If this is the data, this is the value of security, this is over 2 years, so NPA for more than 2 years, this is a doubtful asset plus 2 years old, so much as security subtracted, this is the amount of provision which is required, correct? And what do we do when we analyze receivables? We say, oh, subsequent invoice is paid, earlier invoice not paid, should be doubtful. Why do we need to think this? This system will throw that data. A lot of what we do is data. And today, data is in digital form. Data is voluminous. Data cannot be physically verified in the manner in which it is. You could verify, but you are scratching your surface if you do your traditional audit the way it is. And then there are these disruptive trends, apart from the complexity of regulatory changes, is there will be increased demand for real-time audit. I don't need to look at tomorrow's paper to know what happened in India-England test match today. I get it real time. Wicket falls, I get it. I can see it all. Tomorrow's newspaper is useless. So if tomorrow's newspaper is useless, if financial information is coming to you real time, annual report is useless. Take a mutual fund. How many of you will actually look at that mutual fund annual advertisement with all that result? That's historical information, but it's in the newspaper, very big, etc. Daily net asset value matters. The world has moved on. So if real-time data is being put in, you need real-time audit, real-time assurance. And that, with technology being what it has enabled, we have to live with the fact that someday historical information will be irrelevant. Now, predicting the future, one can argue and argue. But what one can't dispute is the trends. And all of these trends should mean something. What it definitely means is that the way you're doing today will not be the way you're doing tomorrow. And then let me come to team composition. I've mentioned here and I'll show you subsequently. Fact is, if I am doing an audit with you doing banking transactions on the mobile, shared services centers where data is being processed somewhere else, Could be outside India, could be in one location in India. That's why you have the Gurgaons and the Punas and the Bangalore and all that. Nitin will know all that. The point is where the audit is done, and the audit teams need to be multidisciplinary. You will need a technology specialist. You can't otherwise understand the systems. How will you know what transactions should be there? What is it that system is throwing? And if I give you the example Amazon Go, what will you do in an audit when you go to that store? Today we want branch audits and every branch to be audited. Imagine if a branch was like an Amazon Go store. What will you do? You'll be clueless. You will need a technology guy who will be able to see what could be the circumstances. The camera captures the wrong image. What could go wrong? How could the camera not miss an image? How could it pick the image but you debit it to the wrong account? Could a product be lifted not captured in the image? Whether the product, the person, what could go wrong? You can imagine 1,000 things, but you can't do anything manually. You'll need a technology specialist. We have, or take the physical verification, what we used to do. Imagine if every of this had an RFID chip, right? And you have 1,000 all laptops had this. I only need to enter the room with an app to tell, it will tell me how many laptops are there. Even if you hide it under the table or you do whatever it is, I know exactly how many are there because of RFID chips and sensors. I know which model, what year, everything I can get you by that. So I don't need to go count, look for physical. So physical verification teams, the manner in which verification will be done, and some things will be so digital, it's all in the cloud. I don't know what you will do. And the fact is, you need data analysts today, not just technology persons who provide assurance on cybersecurity, on access to those systems, whether the same programs have been changed. You have read about all that program changes. You have access controls, program controls, change management controls, whole host of things. Apart from that, you will need data analysts because of the huge volume of data. So essentially, these exponential technologies will force you to determine who does the audit. And that's where audit teams will composition, whether we like it or not, will change. The work will move away even from humans. Because if I give you an example of receivables provisioning, or I give you an example of provisioning for NPAs, you don't even need humans. You don't even need 8th class pass or a CA, because that is something a system can do. You don't even need to check for disclosures in financial statements, a system can do. What are you? And then we used to do a lot of work. Closing stock as per P&L, whether it is same number as closing stock as per balance sheet. You'll find some rounding off difference. Technology, that is basic. It will never happen. You don't even need to do. Again, as I said, sensors, whatever you put in, all of it. And then when you crowdsource an audit, I say, okay, I need something to be done at so and so place. It's crowdsourced. So where audit gets done changes. There's mobile workforce. That's a separate subject on workforce for the future. How audit gets done is the core, which includes artificial intelligence being built in, which includes analytics. Huge issue analytics. So your whole study which you had, which we did in my CA and thereafter for several years, sampling formula. Why would you sample if you can run the program on the entire population and tell you what is out? I'll check a sample of invoice to determine whether duplicate invoices are there. So I would take a sample of 100 and then check no duplicates. Now in millions of transactions, I just need to run a program. Take one of the tools which we use, other firms also use, I'm sure they will have, is a tool which looks at contracts. We have say 10,000 contracts. Run the tool, it will tell me outliers in those 10,000 contracts. I don't need to read thousands and thousands of pages to determine contract A is how different it is from contract B. So in the new revenue standard Ind AS 115, when I need to know the terms of contracts, that tool will give me easily what are the differences in contracts. This is where that sheer volume you can only deal with technology. And we need enabling technology for everybody. Wherever, whatever type of audit you do, you're doing banking audit, it's not about empanelment, it's not about any of. Are you equipped to do a technology audit where a bank is computerized significantly, where transactions happen real time from anywhere in the world? I can sit in US and do net banking and do a transaction, right? Where is the voucher? How does it happen? What are those systems? These are questions which we need to, and that's why, and the same thing, and I talked on the subject of fraud, and I'll come to that a little later. The point is, this itself raises expectations. If you have looked at the entire population, you can't then get away saying, I sampled and it was outside my sampling. The public expectation from you, regulators' expectation from you will be different. Then there is a different dimension there, which is cost expectation. Earlier, I used to determine audit fees based on hours spent. This audit takes 100 hours, this audit takes 1,000 hours. Now let's say I use that tool which runs through 10,000 contracts. Press of a button, I get the data. How many hours? It's minutes, right? Now will my fee drop down dramatically? Technology, so the model of how we charge will have to change, because no longer is it rate per hour. You're using technology, just like how you're using technology in everything which is done. Okay. Shared services, you look at how shared services operate. I won't get into this. So the fact is, we need to reimagine audit. Either we innovate or we are in the Jurassic Park of auditors. Okay, where, and Henry James was asked, when should functions innovate and transform? He said the right time is any time that one is still so lucky to have. We are still the right time, still lucky to have the time. Nobody is questioned. And I've said this. I've said it at an internal audit All India conference. He said, if you think internal audit is a department in your company, you are history. You should say internal audit is a function. Machines may be performing control functions. That is also internal audit. The more images are being recorded and transactions happening, that is also internal audit. Everybody across the organization should be fine. No longer will you have an internal audit department to look at vouchers, transactions. The whole thing may change, but this is the fact. So therefore, three things are important: mindset, skill set, and tool set. Very simple here. You need a change of mindset. First, be prepared that what is the past is irrelevant. Your skill sets have to be completely different. And of course, the tool sets have to be different. I can't carry my rubber stamp, which I did. I carried templates to draw flow charts. All that I did in my time. And I worked very hard. And perhaps I felt I was doing a better audit. But in today's world, I can't do that. So I'm helpless. And therefore a feeling that I'm not doing a proper audit. But maybe if I use all of these tools, I will be able to deal with it. So therefore, we need to go digital. You need to automate existing capabilities. Start asking, I am comparing this with this. How can that comparison be done digitally? Zero error. Because what happens, if you read the book called Sleep Revolution by Area and Huffington. I'm slightly deviating from here. Sorry for the time I'm taking. Just closing in a short while. It says, if you sleep 1 hour less, it's like having alcohol in your blood just within legal limits. And if you sleep 2 hours less, it's having alcohol in your blood way above legal limits. So people work whole nights, late night articles, all that. You might as well give them whiskey during the day. It's the same effect, because and then you expect them to tick numbers and then tally and all that. In digital, that effect is not there. The sleep effect is not there. That is why you need to automate existing capabilities. The question is, otherwise somebody else will do it and you are redundant. Your skill sets may have been that. We don't want those people. In our good times when we used to audit, Nalin again will recall, we used to have Comptis. who had a comptometer, who would add every, I don't know why this image went away, HDMI, loose connection of the HDMI, I think, maybe. Anyway, yeah. So they would add, uh, they would add all these sheets using comptometer. Now, where is the, he used to be part of an audit team. He would stamp that work paper saying, I've checked the totals, which today's world. So exploring digital, what can be changed, leveraging the digital capabilities, completely becoming digital in terms of what you do, and finally it has to be part of your DNA of your organization. Now, you'll need two types of people, what we call here. You need what we call polymaths, and we need purple people. A polymath is someone who has expertise and knowledge in a number of different subjects, blockchain, analytics, regulations. So you may need that sort of wider knowledge. And a purple person is who understands technology, who understands business. So the days of what we call bean counter is gone. The traditional CA, what we know, and that's why I say, forget traditional CA organizations. You will be history if you don't change the nature of the organization. If you need to change regulations, so be it. Market will require that. Whatever the size, it doesn't matter on size. So the new audit tools will need to have factor in all this. Advanced analytics, it needs to have cognitive computing, visualization with sensors, whole host of things. And therefore, what we call, there will be a paradigm shift. It's not just basic change, whole host of things are there. And I'll come to something which a little later, data analytics. I'll just show you an example, okay? Let's take these advanced interrogation analytics and info. I'll just show you one example. If you can't, you may not be able to see, but see the right hand bottom one, which is a bank and transactions analysis. I run just that through. It will tell me what percentage is transfer of data, what is RTGS, how much is NEFT. You can analyze transactions of what happened on a holiday, what happened early midnight, what happened by how many people who entered in a journal entry only once in the whole year. How many, when did the CFO pass a journal entry, if at all he is passing? Then you will be curious, why is the CFO passing a journal entry? The analytics will show you by nature whole host of data. I've just put some graphic things here, far too small, but these tools will just run on that data. You decide what you want. It will throw out those exceptions on the entire population. Then you can, so analytics will help you focus audit techniques. It helps you in analysis in terms of which products, what margin, which year, which customer, which geography, which time of the day. Everything you can see as to why. Why is discount given at that evening hour as opposed to morning hour? Why only in this shop, not in another shop? You can, I mean, unimaginable advanced analytics, automation, file interrogations which you do. This is what leads us to this issue of forensic and fraud. Then you can't say, I won't be able to detect fraud. Right? You are running the whole population. You are able to determine, you are yourself trying to look for outliers. So there is, the expectation will automatically change, fraud patterns, detection. So there is a continuous monitoring, early warning systems, whole host of things. This is what I'm saying, moving away from hindsight to foresight. Being able to predict also what could go wrong. And therefore, all of this comes in. There is definitely new age frauds will keep happening. Technology frauds will happen. We need to be technologically equipped to be able to understand that. As technology improves, the thieves also improve the same thing. Viruses will increase, risk of, and technology will be used to perpetrate frauds. So much today we see images and we are worried. Is it photoshopped? Right? And then we question, no, it can't be true. And it gets circulated by millions. Everybody circulates. I've seen so much. I've seen images of a president of United States sweeping in the White House and all that. I said, boss, somebody has photoshopped an image and put it in. All sorts of things, which is terrible. But this is also another dimension. So at the end of the day, all what I'm trying to say is, you will move away from routine testing. You will invest more times in complex judgments and estimates using tools, techniques. Junior staff sorry to say this, will be replaced with analytical tools. Audit may become real time. Test of 100% of the population may become a reality. And regulators will have access to technology. I've been talking to regulators. So I've been saying, why do you need to file returns? Why can't you access corporate systems? Returns can be manipulated, manufactured. If you just like they said, you file in XBRL format. I'm saying you have ERP systems, you have all fines. Today, as a telecom operator, I can access all your mobile phones and data. Why can't, as a regulator, instead of coming to your office for inspection, access your systems remotely? Then I can do that today. Remotely, if I can do work, I can do that. Why not? And the fact is, regulators are having more technology or equal technology. If again you read that book about the Rajaratnam episode by Anita Raghavan, you'll find it's fascinating how Rajaratnam was cornered in terms of how regulators tracked BlackBerry Messenger exchanges with the time of trades, with everything. And fascinating story. You'll find regulators today use analytics. Stock market transactions use analytics to see whether somebody's money, and advanced analytics they use. So the survival will move only of people who can think technology. It means therefore you need to be technology literate. Don't be technology myopic. Don't be short-sighted that technology will not happen. And this will definitely, hopefully, lead to better quality if we do all of this. In the future audit team, the way this is what staff 1, staff 2, but you go a little further, you'll find who it is. Data analytics expert, cyber security expert, audit data center, IT specialist. Unfortunately, this is what it is. So you need to make that call and go on. But yes, we still like to say that our judgment cannot be replaced. I'm hoping. I know that it's not an issue of human or technology. It could be what we call, this half man, half horse, which is that humans with the aid of technology perhaps will be far superior to technology itself. Even audit reporting, I don't want to go into it. Swami Vivekananda said this, take risks in your life. If you win, you can lose. If you lose, you can guide. And I think this is, I thought, very apt, and we should actually be doing it. And I will end this lastly by telling you about this author who wrote The World is Flat, right? Thomas Friedman. Tom Friedman, we asked him, with all this technology, what do you think people should do? What do you think we should do? He said 5 things. I'll modify it slightly, but in the 5, I will give you the 5, even in the model. First, he said, think like an immigrant in this technology world. An immigrant from Syria goes to Germany, for instance. He goes through all that. If he comes to Germany, he may have been a doctor in Syria, could have been anything. He's in a new environment, it's a new culture, his qualifications are irrelevant, everything, but he has to still succeed and adapt. That's exactly what will happen in technology. Start thinking like an immigrant. My past is irrelevant. I have to survive in this environment. Second, which jobs will go away? Think like an artisan, he said. This is all automatic. If you are not differentiated, you don't have this artistic touch. Only Nalin Shah provides that artistic, for instance. He will be the last to lose the job because there's that artistic touch. I'm using the word artistic in a way not just by design, but you need that edge, something which you as a human only can add on to it, which makes it different. Think like the artisan. Otherwise, ask yourself, what am I doing? And I gave you all this about expert. Why am I needed? Can I be replaced? And definitely, will I be replaced? First is the can and will automatically, the answers will be yes in my view. But at least insofar as what I do, I know for sure the way things are going. But the fact is, you constantly need to ask yourself. Everybody in every job should ask, what am I doing? What's my value add? If I'm doing data, machines can do it. Over a period, it's only a matter of time. And it won't even interface. You don't even need to approve anything. It automatically happens. So it's a think like an artisan. Third, he said, always be in beta mode, never finished mode, live mode. And the fourth, he gave a formula. His formula was only PQ plus EQ is greater than IQ. And he said organizations don't require IQ today. We don't want brilliant people. I gave you this 8th class pass example. You need PQ plus EQ, and PQ is the passion quotient. You need to have passion. But the most important thing is curiosity quotient. You need to be curious. Why? Why not? What is the implication of this technology? People ask me, why do you wear an Apple Watch? Why do you wear the latest? Why do you wear this? Didn't your old watch tell you the time? Sure enough, my old watch told me the time. But I'm curious. How can I make calls from this? Even my full cell phone is switched off, I can make calls from this. Curiosity. Because what does it mean then? How does it disrupt things? Then I realize I don't need to carry phone charger. I don't need to worry about because I've got a phone here. I've got an alternate phone, if at all. Whatever it is, just the curiosity. Heart rate, anything it will tell you, right? So that he said PQ plus EQ is greater than IQ. I added HQ and EQ. I said you need to have an emotion quotient. You need to be stable as an individual. You need to have mental balance. And HQ is you should be human. In the age of robotics, we don't want robots. We want human, feel for each other, heart to feel. And the fifth, he said, think like an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur takes risks. An entrepreneur never lives in the past. He'll say, ab kya karna hai? Kal kya hoga? It starts working, how looks at business models. What is competition doing? What else? These are the 5 lessons. Those are the 5 messages to you too. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. I'll never reach that position. Sorry.
It would be the pleasure of BCAS for you to be there. I think this was just a fabulous discourse on this entire future of the audit profession. One of our themes for the year anchors around re-engineering of the profession, and I'm very happy with the inputs and the insights which you tried to provide on this entire aspect. And necessarily, yes, of course, this is really an eye-opener for me as a person, and I'm sure for many of us who are present here, of what it is going to be in the future. I would just like to say that this is what leaders are made of. So when you look at your last slide and you see the entire way the entire presentation went, I think this is what we look forward from leaders like you. And I think if there are a couple of questions, we can. We don't have too much time. Couple of questions, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to know how blockchain will change auditing and accounting.
Blockchain is also in a manner of eliminating intermediaries. The fact is, blockchain is an internet of ledgers. Banks should be worried about because a transaction fee could disappear altogether. Because your banker was the trusted intermediary between 2 transactions. Now, blockchain is going to become so pervasive, land transactions, whole host of things, because in fact, it may eliminate the need for audit because it eliminates that verification. It's so secure, trusted, that is why transactions happen. And Bitcoin is only one example of blockchain. Companies are building blockchain into everything, into vendor mechanisms. Banking companies are looking at blockchains to see how they can eliminate frauds in documentation in the way it is, so transactions can happen. As I told you, state governments are trying to digitize land records and get into land transactions happening using blockchain technology. I think you should have a talk on blockchain and its implications. I don't know which committee of yours it falls under, but this is a very, then fine, then I think you got your subject for a later meeting. Yes, sir.
Sir, this was rather frightening presentation for some of us, including me. Anyway, my question is, you've said that as a human, the judgment will be always required. Now, my question is, if the technology is going to be all pervasive, then 6 billion इतने population है world over में, what will they do? Just take birth, marry, have child, and
All
खाना पीना खाया मर
Okay,
गए. The technology is taking the center stage. Professionals चले गए.
ठीक है.
Everyone else.
So let me answer your question.
Thank you.
One part of your question is out of syllabus, but still I will answer your first. The first one is, I didn't scare you. There are many times when I speak like this, people say it's like a science fiction movie. Okay, hoga nahi. It's a good feeling sometimes, or a different thing, a journey into the future, H.G. Wells' time machine, whatever it is. But it never happens. I'm glad you at least said it's a scary movie, because it's horror is not for the purpose, but the fact is, only when you are aware and concerned will you transform. You can bury your heads in sand and forget about it. But your second is a larger issue. Yes, the issue is, even in our country, we will have 400 million jobs. 400 million people of working age. We need to create 2 million jobs each month. That's the hard reality. At the same time, we need to be competitive as an economy. And the fact the pace of computerization or digitization is going to reduce jobs. But the reality is, there'll be a mismatch of jobs, which is already there. The type of jobs which are required are not the jobs where you have supply. The type of jobs you have supply, those types of jobs are not there. Now, judgment, I didn't say judgment will always remain. I only said I hope judgments will always remain. Because the progress in cognitive thinking is reached to such an extent. If you see the Newsweek edition, I don't know, a year ago or sometime in February, 1 year ago, last February or March, it had a title, front page, Goldman Sachs. You read that article. Goldman Sachs in the New York office appears to have had 700 traders who were making millions for Goldman Sachs. What were they doing? Looking at screens, looking at data, exercising judgment. Through algorithms, they replaced 698 of them, only 2 of them making the same thing. So it proved that not low-level jobs will go away, high-level jobs can also go away. So even judgments, as I gave you an example in receivables, etc., I thought I was making a judgment. The reality was not, I was not making a judgment. I was following a rule-based decision, saying if it is over so many years old, it has to be doubtful, and then make provision. Yes, Shush.
From whatever you said, how do you think all this will impact the size of firms, especially the size of CA firms?
You see, first is the composition of CA firms. The question, I won't even call it a CA firm. Now, you can call it a multidisciplinary. The reality is we have to accept, and I don't mind if this is telecast in the way it is. I believe there'll be a convergence of professions. If I can't, let's take forensic, for instance. I'd say take pride, forensic, BCA firms do. Just to give you an example, I will require technology specialists. I will require analytics. I will require investigative people. That's why you've taken people from police, CBI background, their sense of smell in terms of investigation. I may require a psychologist, because think like a thief. And then I may require an accountant, a CA, etc. Now you put all this together and will you call it a CA firm? The answer is no. So what I'm saying, you have to decide, do you want to be a CA firm and be in that narrow? Or say, I would like to be a professional services firm because I want to be relevant. Increasingly, when tax happened, when GST happened, many of you know, clients said, we don't want GST advice. We want GST advice with a tool. Give us a technology tool, we want to comply. We have thought we can't, we want to comply. And anyway, GST is IT enabled in the way it is. And you give us updates of the law, you might maintain the tool also if you want. So the systems will work. That is, then what happens, you necessarily have to again have. So the character of firms will change, and therefore composition in terms of size will also change, because as I gave you, if I'm able to run a tool which runs to 10,000 contracts, I don't need an army of people, which is what we see in organizations today. It's all automated, sensors. Where is the watchman? For all those exits, everything is swipe card. It will tell you in out timings. Today, when you do payroll audit, it's a different way. You don't look at payroll, anything attendance register. There is no attendance register. Everything is sensor driven. You look at how many utilized lunch, entered the lunchroom, where he spent the time, who entered what facility. Oh, you leave a digital trail today, it changes the character of organization. And you are in a position to make the change, being part of the professional body. Good.
Thank you, sir, for addressing all these queries. One of your points was relating to the speed which technology permits. At BCAS, we've tried to implement it in a baby step manner by having an instant photograph. I'll request Past President Nitin Bhai to kindly hand it over to you.
Thank you, but I must mention that this is not the digital age still, because you're giving me a physical photograph.
The digital will follow by the time we reach here. Thank you. I'll request Chirag to make a few announcements and propose a well-deserved vote of thanks. I'll request all the participants to be there as a mark of the respect for the speaker till the time the vote of thanks is over.
Very good evening to everybody. I would just like to announce few of the upcoming events, the key events of the society. One is on 8th of August on Wednesday at the IMC Hall, Churchgate, the interactive lecture meeting on GST, portal experience and issues faced by the industry. Then on the 11th of August on Saturday at this very hall, we have a seminar on tax audit. Followed by that on Thursday, August 30th and 31st, we have a session on internal audit 101. This is basically, let's start at the very beginning of the audit, which has been again taken by a battalion of speakers who have a vast experience in internal audit. It's at the Orchid Hotel, Mumbai. Then we have BCAS jointly doing with CTC a full day seminar on charitable trust, which is considering the critical aspects. That's on Saturday, 1st September at this very hall again. And a long duration course on GST, which is on 3 weekends, October 5th, 6th, 12th, 13th and 19th, 20th, again in this very hall. So those who want to take the benefits out of that can do. The other events are also circulated, so you'll have that while you move. Coming to a formal word of thanks today evening, I would like to thank sir for taking out time of his busy schedule, as we all know, to come here in person and present this. Because still, and sir, we would request you to give more time of yours, because BCA still does not have a technology where, we'll pull out the zettabyte data which is stored in your brain, customize that and present to our members. So till that time, we would request you to again share your valuable time and knowledge with BCS. Today, the way you have taken explaining us the basics of technology first and then the audit, which made us understand that what technology is all about, so that we could all think in the areas in which we are entering, because I have seen people from GST background, internal audit, stat audit, forensics, all been present here and many more on the webcast. So the way you've explained the systems and then the way we take the audit. So it was very insightful, very helpful, and thank you for taking up such a courageous topic and alarming us with what is going to be coming in future, which helps a lot of the young generations sitting here as well as me. And thank you for your time, valuable, and the knowledge which you shared. Thank you, and I would like all of you to give it a round of applause.